Our story kicks off on a remote island where police cruisers have completely swarmed this massive mansion from every angle. They've locked down the whole place hunting for the owner, Artemis, who the government just labeled as the world's most dangerous thief, when suddenly a reporter spots cops dragging out someone they've just nabbed, and they're hauling him in for questioning. But here's the crazy part. They take this guy out to the middle of the ocean, miles from anywhere, to interrogate him there. The officers aren't playing around with this dude named Mulch, forcing him to spill everything. When they demand to know where Artemis is hiding, Mulch drops a bombshell. You guys don't even know who's really pulling the strings here. Because it's not the father, it's actually his kid, his son, who's also named Artemis Fowl. And he's the real mastermind behind all this. Then we cut to this boy Artemis, who absolutely hates going to school. But not for the usual reasons. At just 7 years old, this kid knows way more than his own teachers. He's literally smarter than all of them combined. And get this, he's already a world chess champion. On top of that, Artemis spent his childhood building tons of scientific projects and conducting wild experiments. All these projects and brilliant experiments earned him countless awards, but honestly, all this success has gone straight to his head. The kid's gotten pretty disrespectful, even talking back to his teachers. When Artemis gets home from school, he's super excited thinking he'll finally get some quality time with his dad. But then his father sadly breaks the news that he's got to leave on yet another business trip. Feeling crushed, Artemis tells his father that he absolutely hates always being away from him. His dad tries to comfort him, promising that his work will be done for good in just a few days, and then he'll stay with him permanently. After their heart-to-heart, father and son walk together through the mansion, and a few hours later, Artemis says goodbye to his dad as he boards his private helicopter and takes off. The next morning, Artemis wakes up in his room like any other day when suddenly he hears someone screaming inside the mansion. Artemis rushes to see what the hell is going on and spots Domovoy, the Fowl family's bodyguard. His father left Domovoy there specifically to protect him. Domovoy looks totally stressed out, frantically talking to someone on the phone. Despite all this chaos, Artemis heads to the hall for breakfast when he catches a news report on TV revealing that Artemis Fowl isn't actually a businessman at all. The government has officially declared him the world's biggest thief. Police believe this man's been robbing famous museums and has stolen some of the most valuable artifacts in human history. What's making this whole thing even weirder is that they can't find Artemis anywhere. Police even discovered his luxury yacht floating abandoned in the middle of the ocean, which just made the entire situation way more mysterious. Hearing all this news, the kid starts freaking out. He desperately wants to go after his father, but Domovoy stops him, explaining that he's already sent his people to track him down. Right at that moment, the mansion phone starts ringing, and before the bodyguard can even react, Artemis bolts over and picks it up. The second he answers, this mysterious voice comes through saying he's got Artemis's father held captive and won't release him until he gets something called the Aculos back. Artemis is confused, asking, "Okay, fine, we'll hand it over, but what the hell even is the Aculos?" But the guy smugly replies that he's heard Artemis has this brilliant mind, so why doesn't he figure it out himself? After the call ends, Artemis immediately asks Domovoy what an Aculos is, and the bodyguard tells him to follow him. In one section of the mansion, the bodyguard activates this hidden passage that takes them straight down to the basement. Domovoy reveals to Artemis that this is his father's secret hideout, where generations of family work have been carefully preserved. He explains that everything in this room was collected for a specific reason, but even after all these years working alongside his father, he's never once heard about the Aculos. Artemis starts thinking hard, knowing his father must have left some kind of clue when suddenly he remembers his father used to recite this poem to him before bed. Using the poem as a guide, he starts checking through the drawers until Artemis discovers a diary, and reading through it, he finds something written on the very last page. His father documented someone who knows everything about the Aculos theft. In that instant, Artemis recalls how his father always told him stories about elves and magical beings. Reading his father's diary confirms what seemed impossible. These creatures actually exist in real life. Far beyond human reach, these magical beings live their lives in a place called Haven City, which is basically the elves' home. Now in the elves' world, we meet Captain Holly, heading to a meeting when she notices news reports constantly updating the public about the search for the Aculos, which is making everyone realize just how crucial this thing is to the magical world. A little while later, Holly runs into Mulch, who desperately begs her for help getting out of his sentence. They're locking him up on theft charges. He pitches her, saying the two of them would make an incredible team. Combining his thieving skills with her magic, there's nothing they couldn't pull off. But Holly completely ignores Mulch's rambling and walks away without giving him much thought. Though, in that brief moment, Mulch managed to swipe something from her. Shortly after, in one of Haven City's prison cells, the same villain who's holding Artemis's father captive breaks out a prisoner named Briar. He tells Briar that from now on, he's going to follow every single order he gives. Briar's totally confused, asking why the hell he's doing all this, and the villain reveals he needs someone who can infiltrate the elves' army from the inside so he can get his hands on the Achelos as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, Holly arrives at her meeting where Commander Root tells his soldiers that until they recover the Achelos, everyone stays on duty because nothing matters more than this right now. The Lady Commander also orders everyone that under no circumstances can humans discover their identity. Anyone who breaks this rule will face serious punishment. At the end of the meeting, Holly rushes forward to talk to her boss, mentioning she's got fresh leads about her father's whereabouts. But the Lady Commander shuts her down, saying there's no time for that now. Just find the Achelos. Back in the human world, Domovoy decides to ask his niece Juliet for help, because despite her young age, she's incredibly skilled at tracking people down. While Artemis is busy trying to gather intel from his father's files, Juliet comes over to check on him, suggesting he should probably get some rest, but Artemis completely refuses, insisting he doesn't need her help since he's already figured out how to find his father. To rescue his dad, he's gonna need the elves' assistance, but this won't be easy because not only is their world hidden, but they're definitely not gonna want to help some human. Back in the control room, the operator gets a signal that Commander Root is arriving, and just 2 minutes later, she shows up there with Holly. Without wasting a second, she explains that a prisoner has escaped through the Earth's surface, and since all their soldiers are tied up trying to recover the Achelos, the commander decides to hand this mission over to Holly. Pumped up about this opportunity, the young officer heads out to hunt down the escapee. From the control room, Commander Root gives Holly the complete mission briefing, and Holly takes off flying toward a small European town where the locals are absolutely terrified of this massive monster who turns out to be that escaped prisoner from the magical world. When Holly spots the monster holding a little girl hostage, she immediately attacks its head, forcing the creature to throw its victim away, but Holly barely manages to catch her before she hits the ground. After getting the kid away from that thing, the soldiers use some magic to heal the wounds on the girl's body. Then, Holly moves forward to face off against the monster and tries to trap it using these long electric cables, but at that exact moment, the monster grabs hold of Holly. To save the elf from the creature, they send in a time freeze capsule mid-battle, which freezes time for every human in the area. Taking advantage of this, the other soldiers rush in to capture the monster and also wipe the memories of all the humans who witnessed Holly. Now Holly decides to take a different path, and despite Commander Root's threats, she stands her ground, declaring that she's absolutely going to restore her father's lost honor. Right now, Artemis is deep into reading his father's diary, and as he keeps going, he realizes his dad actually helped the elves save the human world. He also discovers that the person desperately hunting for the Achelos is someone named Opal. Following the diary's clues, Artemis meets up with Domovoy at one of the locations where he spots Holly, and his guard immediately fires a tranquilizer at the elf, knocking her out cold. The moment they realize they've lost Holly's signal, Commander Root sounds every alarm to rescue her agent. Anyway, a few hours later, Holly wakes up trapped inside this cage Artemis built, and the furious elf tries using her powers to control these people. But Artemis already knew about this trick, and he's wearing special protective glasses. Then Artemis explains that he wants to find his father, and he's gonna need her help to do it. Though Holly fires back asking why the hell she'd help him. "You've made a huge mistake taking me prisoner. A massive, powerful attack is coming for you, and my people will rescue me and take you down." Despite this threat, Artemis doesn't flinch at all, calmly saying that's exactly what she wants, for her people to show up here. Within minutes, a terrifying storm starts brewing around the mansion. Sensing the elves' arrival, the boy confiscates Holly's weapons for himself. Meanwhile, Domovoy manages to pull a weapon from Holly's costume. At that exact moment, time gets frozen again, and the elf army launches their assault on the mansion. Everyone takes their battle positions, and Commander Root shows up wearing her full combat suit. While the team's searching for Holly, Artemis decides to suit up in his special gear. Now, Artemis and Domovoy are completely ready for battle. The elf army storms in and attacks them fiercely, but these two aren't going down easy. In fact, Artemis and his partner start taking down every magical creature that comes at them. A little while later, Artemis picks up a soldier's helmet and tells the commander through it that if you want to see Holly alive, come inside and let's talk. Seeing no other option, Root enters the mansion to negotiate with Artemis. Once inside, Root gets straight to the point, warning him that their army is massive. How long can you really fight? And if you don't cooperate, the next attack will hit with full force. Despite this warning, the kid doesn't scare one bit, confidently stating that if they attack again, he'll expose the existence of elves to the entire world. Then Artemis makes his demand crystal clear. He'll only release Holly if they hand over the Aculos, but Root flatly refuses, saying that'll never happen, so the boy gives the elves 15 minutes to change their minds. Now things have gotten desperate, so the commander issues a special order. Mulch gets released from prison and sent straight to the battlefield. During all this chaos, Artemis takes the time to explain the whole situation to Holly. Hearing about Artemis's father really hits Holly hard because someone destroyed her own father's reputation in exactly the same way. And now, Holly genuinely wants to help him solve this Aculos mystery. So Artemis shows his trust by taking off his protective glasses. Artemis starts explaining that inside his father's diary, the guard who hid the Aculos is listed as Beechwood, and hearing this, Holly's stunned, realizing that's her father's name. He knew just how dangerous the Aculos really was, which is why he decided to hide it away forever. And after that, everyone started calling her father a traitor. Hearing all this, Artemis falls into deep thought when suddenly Juliet spots a new aircraft approaching and immediately alerts Artemis. Now Mulch has reached the commander, who puts a deal on the table. If he can quickly dig a tunnel to reach the mansion, they can save Holly, and in return, his sentence will be drastically reduced. Thrilled by this offer, Mulch instantly agrees to the deal. After that, Mulch heads straight to the beach near the mansion, unhinging his jaw to an insane degree, and starts chomping through dirt and digging like crazy, reaching inside the mansion in just seconds. Spotting this intruder, Domovoy immediately alerts Artemis, who instantly realizes he must have been sent to rescue Holly. But before helping anyone, Mulch can't resist his thieving habits. He quickly sniffs out a secret compartment inside the mansion, and Artemis tells Domovoy to let him open it because whatever's inside might be exactly what they need. Now Artemis tells Holly that if they work together, they can figure out what really happened to both their fathers. Moments later, Mulch opens the deepest door of the secret room and uses his magic to control his hair strands so they turn into metal wires that can bypass the security screen. The second the compartment opens, Mulch gets his hands on what everyone's been searching for, and soon Artemis and Holly arrive there too. Right then, the elf warns Artemis that he can't use this thing alone, because its magical powers will literally kill him. Before the boy can understand more about the Aculos, Mulch reports everything back to the commander, and somehow this information also reaches Opal, so she sends her soldier Briar there. At that same moment, the commander gets word that the time freeze dome is glitching out. Taking advantage of all this chaos, the traitor Briar moves forward to arrest Commander Root, claiming that the ministers have met and chosen a new leader. And that's me. Furious, the commander knocks out all the guards around her, but then Briar complains that she's made such a simple mission incredibly difficult. They'll need to try a new approach. Suddenly, this massive elven aircraft appears in the sky, and Briar reveals he's brought a dangerous monster to attack the mansion. Hearing the monster's terrifying roars getting closer, everyone starts running in every direction while Holly realizes exactly what's about to go down. Now the entire army's control is in Briar's hands, and he orders his forces to shut down all magic use inside the mansion. He also declares there's no need to rescue Holly since her father was just a traitor anyway. At that exact moment, the dangerous monster gets launched from the machine straight into the mansion, and the second it lands inside, it feels like the entire ground is shaking. Nobody inside even has time to process what's happening as Domovoy starts running through the mansion rooms, trying to distract the monster while Artemis and Juliet frantically brainstorm how to take this thing down. During all this chaos, Holly falls into the chandelier. Mulch rushes to save her, but ends up dangling there himself. To rescue his teammates, Artemis and Domovoy drag a sofa underneath them both. But right then the monster appears, chasing after Juliet. In pure rage, it starts grabbing and hurling furniture everywhere, which sends the bodyguard flying across the room. Then Mulch jumps onto the monster's back, but the creature just picks him up and tosses him straight toward the stairs. To keep the Achelos safe, Mulch actually swallows it and yells at his teammates to head to the second-floor balcony. Juliet immediately tries sprinting across the hall, but the monster blocks her path until Holly swoops in and saves her, and Juliet barely makes it to a room with Artemis. Now Artemis fires shots at the beast, and before the monster can attack Artemis and Juliet, Domovoy jumps in front and rams it using this massive bull's head, but the monster's way too powerful. It easily knocks Domovoy to the ground. When Holly sees the monster has grabbed hold of Artemis, she uses the chandelier to smash through the room's window. Right after that, to escape the monster's grip, Artemis jumps out the window. Juliet and Domovoy do the same thing, but Domovoy accidentally falls to the floor below, while the girl's left hanging. With Artemis's help, Holly breaks herself free, and as the monster leaps toward the chandelier, the two of them split up to attack it from different angles. During the firefight, Artemis accidentally drops his magical weapon to the floor and rushes to grab it, but at that moment the chandelier slowly starts breaking apart. Worried something terrible might happen to Artemis, Holly shoves Artemis out of the way, but the monster crashes down on top of her. Panicking now, everyone frantically searches for a way to save Domovoy, while outside, the time freeze dome is finally collapsing, which is causing serious damage to the elven army. After pulling Domovoy out from under the monster's body, Artemis desperately begs Holly to please save his friend. But Holly regretfully tells him that magic's been shut down here. Even if she wanted to, there's nothing she can do. But Domovoy reassures everyone that everything's fine. Don't worry about me. Outside, the elven army's captain figures that whoever was gonna die is already dead. It's been way too long since the monster went inside, so now give Holly her magic back since he believes the danger has passed. The second Holly feels her magic returning, she doesn't waste a single moment and uses her powers to completely heal Domovoy. At that same time, the elven army starts retreating because the dome has totally collapsed, and everyone rushes to the mansion's balcony. But as soon as they sense danger approaching, Artemis, Juliet, and Domovoy run back inside the mansion while Holly and Mulch head outside. After rescuing a fisherman floating in the air when Holly tries to fly away, she gets sucked into a water vortex while Mulch digs a tunnel and burrows underground to save himself. Outside, Holly somehow escapes the vortex without any injuries. Right then, the time freeze device completely malfunctions, causing a massive explosion in the sky, and from Haven City, the commander orders Holly to return immediate. But Holly straight up refuses to come back and heads inside the mansion to Artemis. She's determined not to return until she clears her father's name. Now that they have the Achelos, everyone gathers in the library, and Holly starts using the Achelos' powers trying to bring Artemis' father back. But then Opal tells Artemis he's failed his mission. Since the Achelos hasn't reached her yet, she's gonna kill his father for good. Holly's desperately trying to bring Artemis' father here, but before she can, Opal launches a devastating attack and kills Artemis' father. Thinking the Achelos couldn't bring his father back, Artemis is absolutely crushed and starts running around the mansion calling out for his dad. Holly also apologizes for not being able to help her friend, but suddenly this incredible magic happens in one of the mansion's rooms. Artemis immediately sprints to that room where he reunites with his father and they instantly embrace each other, while on the other side, Opal loses it and starts screaming in pure rage. When Artemis' father meets Holly, he tells her that he and her father used to work together. "Your father wasn't a traitor. He was my brave friend who helped protect the Achelos from the elves' enemies." Then Artemis' father tells Holly about all of Opal's crimes, explaining that her father's final wish was for this list to be given to his daughter. Reuniting again, Domovoy emotionally hugs his boss, and before leaving, Holly approaches Artemis where they both say goodbye while holding hands. Holly returns and briefs the commander on everything, finally clearing her father's name. After reviewing all the evidence, Holly gets promoted, and she's now in charge of this entire investigation. Meanwhile, Artemis also calls Opal, promising he'll definitely find a way to catch her, and then he flies off in a helicopter with his father. A little while later, they pick up Mulch, who's now part of their crew. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you in the next one.